আমরা জানি যে এখনকার সময়ের যে অন্যতম বড় স্বাস্থ্য সমস্যা হচ্ছে ক্যান্সার, কিন্তু বিগত কয়েক দশকে আমরা কিন্তু ক্যান্সার মোকাবেলায় অভূতপূর্ব অগ্রগতি সাধন করেছি। এখন এমন কিছু ওষুধ আছে যাদেরকে বলা যায় ম্যাজিক বুলেটের মতো কাজ করে ক্যান্সারের বিরুদ্ধে, কিন্তু তারপরও আমাদের পার হতে হবে বহুদূর। আজকে আমরা এই ক্যান্সারের বর্তমান প্রেক্ষিত এবং ভবিষ্যৎ ওষুধ উদ্ভাবনের যেই যাত্রাপথ তা নিয়ে আলোচনা করব। এবং এই আলোচনায় আমরা এমন দুজন অতিথিকে যুক্ত করেছি, আমাদের যিনি পৃথিবীব্যাপী বিখ্যাত একজন বিজ্ঞানী, এবং বাংলাদেশে আমরা এমন একজনকে পেয়েছি যিনি বাংলাদেশের ওষুধ শিল্পের যে বিবর্তন তাতে অন্যতম গুরুত্বপূর্ণ অগ্রণী ভূমিকা রেখেছেন। আমি পরিচয় করিয়ে দিচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের দুজন অতিথির সাথে। আমাদের সাথে স্টুডিওতে আছেন অক্সফোর্ড বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রখ্যাত অধ্যাপক এমিরেটাস প্রফেসর স্যার ওয়াল্টার বডমার। আমাদের হিউম্যান জেনেটিক্স বিষয়ক যে গবেষণা হয়েছে তিনি পথ প্রতিকৃতের ভূমিকা পালন করেছেন। স্যার ওয়াল্টার বডমার, উই আর ভেরি প্লিজড টু হ্যাভ ইউ ইন দ্য studio. Welcome to our program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here for a second time.
Thank you so much. And we are very pleased to have Mr. Abdul Muktadir with us. He's the Chairman and Managing Director in Incepta Pharmaceutical Limited and the President of Bangladesh Association of Pharmaceuticals Industries, BAPI. Mr. Abdul Muktadir, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sir Walter Bodmer, it's a great pleasure that you are here with us. You said that it's for the second time and it's your third visit to Bangladesh. And yeah. I'm sure that you have seen some transformations and some of the work going on here. Today we are talking about cancer and the future innovation of drugs related to cancer. So the very first question to you will be, in your long experience, long journey of developing drugs or association with cancer research, what's the most promising progress you think we have made regarding mitigating cancer challenge in the world?
I must start by saying the most important thing in cancer is prevention.
Yes.
And the best way to prevent is by stopping people smoking. I'm impressed that I don't see too many people smoking here. And of course controlling diets. And after that, the next most important thing is to catch cancer early. And we can talk about that later. There are various new approaches and technologies that promise to improve the way we can catch cancer at an early stage in the hope of then we can treat it. So when it comes to treatment of cancer, a fundamental problem is that cancer is very similar to a normal cell. So there have been, of course, many successful treatments, but they're on the margin of not treating too much so that you damage normal cells, but treating enough so you damage the cancer cells. And that's true of many of the commonly used drugs that are used for chemotherapy. And then, of course, there are drugs that are used for blocking the production of what are called growth factors, which are things that drive the growth of a cancer. But anything like that is also found in normal cells and is inevitably something of a limitation. So I think the future is almost certainly going to be in a different approach to the treatment, by and large, which is through the body's immune system. The immune system is there to recognize foreignness, particularly viruses when they've infected a cell. It recognizes that by detecting things on the surface of the cell and can kill cells if they express things that they're processed to try and kill cells or bacterial infection sometime. But by and large, the trouble there is also that what cancer's expressed is often found on normal cells. So there are attempts to find ways of finding what are called ectopic, finding expressions that are unusual in a cancer. So if in my case you're talking about a bowel cancer, it may be a protein that's on the surface of the cell that's only found in the placenta, and so that's relatively specific. So I would say that the future I see is more developments of immunotherapy in different ways, without at this stage going into some of the huge developments that have already taken place.
Thank you, Walter. দর্শক, আমরা যে বিষয়টি শুনলাম স্যার ওয়াল্টার বডমারের কাছ থেকে, যে ইতিমধ্যে ক্যান্সারের চিকিৎসা ব্যবস্থা কিন্তু অনেকখানি অগ্রগতি হয়েছে, টার্গেটেড থেরাপির কথা এসেছে এবং বিশেষ করে তিনি গুরুত্ব দিয়েছেন কিন্তু ইমিউনোথেরাপির যে প্রসঙ্গটা, যে আমাদের ইমিউন সিস্টেমকে কিভাবে আমরা ক্যান্সারের চিকিৎসায় কাজে লাগাতে পারি সেই দিকটাতেই বোধহয় ফিউচারটা আরও বেশি যাচ্ছে। এই জায়গাটায় উন্নতি অনেকখানি হয়েছে, কিন্তু সামনেও বোধহয় আমরা অনেক কিছু দেখতে পাবো এখানে, সেটি স্যার ওয়াল্টার বডমার বললেন। মিস্টার আব্দুল মুকতাদির, if we consider about the cancer drug development in Bangladesh, Bangladesh has come a long way regarding, I would say, producing accessible drugs, making them available, and also becoming very competitive in global market. What's the current status of the cancer drug markets in Bangladesh? Where do we stand at this moment?
Cancer therapy is developing at a lightning speed, and therapies that were standard, let's say 2 to 3 years back, there are new therapies coming in which are replacing them. So the speed of producing newer agents is invariably extremely important. Why? Because it gives you very, very safe therapy, like Professor Sir Walter Bodmer was telling, that there are new things coming up, and especially in the field of immunotherapy. So we are, let's say, if you look into one immunotherapy which is there but is still attacking our normal cells, but after a certain period of time you come up with another one antibody which is very much specific and does not touch your normal cells, that is going to be definitely much better, safer, with lesser side effects.
Yeah.
So we are observing every now and then that a new therapy is coming up which is even more specific and safer, more effective. Now the challenge for us in a country like Bangladesh is to adjust our pace and being able to produce those products at a much lower cost and giving it to the people. There are two obstacles behind it. One is the infrastructure and the expenditure and the kind of research that you need to put in order to bring out those things. The other thing is many of those products which are very advanced in nature with lower side effect and higher efficacy, they are under patent. So we would not be able to copy them. In Bangladesh, we are not in a research of doing innovative new drug research, but we are also, okay, a part of it is being done in many different, in some of the places like in our company, with institutions like Imperial College in UK, with University College of London and some other institutions. But if you talk about a complete drug, that we can touch it, we can produce it only after expiry of the patent. Now there is another one challenge that Sir Walter would also support this, that you'd see that if I wanted to make a monoclonal antibody in a system of only 50 liter, and then if you increase that up to 500 or 2000 liter, the cost comes down phenomenally. But our market is so small, okay, that we are not able to produce in a larger scale. So why this is important? Because you will grow the cells, you will grow everything in a bioreactor, but then the downstream processing would require your filter and many other purification steps, which you can do probably for a 50 liter scale and also for a 500 liter scale with same expenses. So the expenditure is a big issue when we do it in a smaller scale, but when we are able to do it in a larger scale, then the prices could be brought down significantly. So in Bangladesh, we are now suffering from this particular problem. The immunotherapy still is catching up slowly. The diagnosis is not yet in full strength, and there are limitations and bottlenecks in selecting the right monoclonal antibody and the kind of diagnostic procedure that you have to follow. These are all evolving.
Yeah.
We hope in future all other infrastructures would be in place and people would be encouraged to use more and more safer targeted therapies, and these things market would increase, and eventually that would facilitate lowering the cost and making things available to the people.
Thank you, Mr. Muktadir, for this really elaborate answer to the question and the scenario in Bangladesh. So I think, Sir Walter, based on the challenges that Mr. Muktadir has presented before us, it looks like some of the issues that we need to solve, we need kind of sectoral collaboration here. The research organizations need to take part, the universities need to take part, and obviously the industry. So if we want to move to the direction where the world is moving, the Bangladesh, then what will be your suggestions? What the universities and different other parties can take?
Yes, let me make one or two comments. First of all, the major pharmaceuticals have not made a really significant novel drug for a long time. They come from universities, they come from small biotech companies that are doing research and often spin out from a university. I think one of the important things to be in touch with what's going on is to have your own research going so that you can understand what's being done by other people, even if you're not necessarily the person who's making the innovative discovery. And the second step is the one that you've mentioned. I think it's going to be very important for Bangladesh to collaborate, whether it's with Imperial College or Oxford or somewhere else, with the places where at the moment there is innovation being done. And you can collaborate even in ways when you can support phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trials. So you get involved in what's being done and you see what's needed in order to make the sort of products that are going to be the immunotherapies of the future rather than the present. Of course, there are immunotherapies that are very well known now, so-called checkpoint immunotherapies, for example, which use an antibody. And of course, outside the cancer field, one of the major users of monoclonal antibodies is for the treatment of autoimmune disease, such as rheumatoid arthritis. And in that case, you are considering the question of making large amounts of antibody and how to do that most effectively. And I think that's a technology that needs to be developed and to be available so you can produce the antibodies on a sufficiently large scale like a big pharmaceutical company can do. And I would have thought from what I've seen in the energy of the small companies here that there's a huge opportunity there to produce these drugs, even ones that are known now, that are in high quality and that undercut some of the prices that I think are inappropriately charged by the large pharmaceutical companies. So those are some of the things I would say. But I think there are new developments. I think that the immunotherapy has been given a huge push by some of the things one can do, but they only apply to a limited set of cancers. The ones that have high mutations because of a mutation they have that causes that, or because you expose yourself to the UV light, which gives you lots of mutations on the skin surface, or you smoke. But that's a limited set, maybe no more than 20% or so of all the available cancers. So there have to be new approaches. And I'm not quite as optimistic about finding new targets as my colleague here is. I think that's proving very difficult. There was the hope that, for instance, if you've got mutations in commonly mutated genes like P53 or KRAS, that those might be detected by the immune system. And it's been very hard to make antibodies that recognize those things. So I think there are going to be other ways. And I would emphasize something we were discussing before, that there are now different ways of delivering antibodies that we learned from the way that mRNA lipid nanoparticles were used to make hundreds of millions of vaccines for the coronavirus and for its further changes since it started, Moderna and BioNTech. And I think the way for the future of delivering antibodies is going to be that way. And although it needs large-scale developments, you always do, it's much easier to scale up and much cheaper doing it in that way. And that's already beginning to happen in other areas. So I think the community here, and I'm sure they are, has to be in touch with what's being done throughout the world and try and collaborate as much as possible with where the advances are being done.
Thank you, Sir Walter. I will make a brief Bengali translation for what you have discussed so far. দর্শক, খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ আমি দুটো বিষয় আলাপ করতে চাই আমাদের দুজন বিশেষজ্ঞ অতিথির বক্তব্য থেকে। মিস্টার মুক্তাদির বলছিলেন যে বাংলাদেশে কিন্তু আমাদের অনেক অগ্রগতি হয়েছে এর মধ্যে, কিন্তু বেশ কিছু চ্যালেঞ্জও আছে তার মধ্যে। একটা বলেছেন যে আমরা যদি এখানে অনেক বড় একটা ফ্যাসিলিটি তৈরি হয় এবং অনেক বড় ভলিউমে যদি আমাদের এখানে আধুনিক ক্যান্সারের যে ওষুধগুলো আছে সেটা তৈরি হয়, সেটির যে মার্কেট বাংলাদেশে আছে সেটা বাংলাদেশ আসলে পুরো যথেষ্ট না। আমাদেরকে আন্তর্জাতিক মার্কেটটা ধরতে পারলে তখন হয়তো এ ধরনের বড় ফ্যাসিলিটি এখানে তৈরি করাটা আরও বেশি যৌক্তিক। স্যার ওয়াল্টার বডমার যেটা বলেছেন যে এ ধরনের যেই যদি আমরা অগ্রগতির দিকে যেতে চাই, যে নতুন উদ্ভাবনগুলো হচ্ছে সেটা বাংলাদেশে সবসময় করা না গেলেও বাইরের বিশ্বে যেগুলো হচ্ছে সেটার সাথে সম্পর্ক থাকা, কোলাবোরেশন রাখা, পৃথিবীর বিভিন্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলোর সাথে যোগাযোগ রাখা একটা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ বিষয়। এবং তিনি একটি বিষয় খুবই জোর দিয়েছেন, সেটি হচ্ছে যে আমাদের দেশে এখনকার বাংলাদেশে যেটুকুই অগ্রগতি হয়েছে সেটাকে যদি আমরা আন্তর্জাতিক পরিমণ্ডলে পরিচিত করতে চাই, তাহলে আমাদের দেশীয় যে গবেষণা সংস্কৃতি যেটা বা গবেষণা সক্ষমতা যেটা, সেটি বাড়ানোর কিন্তু বিকল্প নাই। এটি চালিয়ে যেতে হবে এবং তার মধ্য দিয়ে আন্তর্জাতিক পরিমণ্ডলের সাথে সংযোগ রক্ষা করতে হবে। With this brief explanation, I want to come back to you, Mr. Abdul Muktadir. So what Sir Walter Bodmer has said, the research is extremely important. Whether we innovate here or we remain connected with the international community, to be relevant in this current world, we need to increase our research capacity. So in your view, how the universities can play a role here, and how the industry in Bangladesh can support the universities here in Bangladesh to be really to be able to contribute in this particular regard?
In drug delivery ecosystem, we did not find a good match in any of the universities in Bangladesh. So we were in touch with England, and then we started collaborating with Professor Robin Shattock in Imperial College, and we are part of their research hub as an industrial partner. So everything that they wanted to produce in a larger scale, they come to Bangladesh, to Incepta. And this way, we are becoming a part of their new innovation. So we manufacture a chemical compound which they think is going to be useful, so we synthesize it here.
Okay.
We make many different drugs and let's say in the lab, mRNAs, and they are nanoparticle, and we are also planning to set up, I'm coming to that part later on, but also in case of vaccine development by using PICIA platform. We are also working with Imperial College. We are also working with the University of Leeds, and also for purification, which is very good, University College of London, and also in mRNA technology we are working with Penn State. So what happens that we became part of UK research ecosystem.
Yes.
And we are with Oxford, we are with Leeds, we are with University College of London, Imperial College. So, and there are 3 different grants that we receive from British government, and our researchers actually get paid by the UK government for doing many different research work for the UK universities. So this, thank God, we are able to establish already. Now, if you really wanted us to be in touch with Bangladeshi universities or academic areas, then Bangladesh government does not have, they might have on paper, so they're doing some work, but they did not come they did not come forward with a very specific target that this is what we want to do, and we want to finance university and also the commercial pharmaceutical companies together, and this is our focus. So that model did not come here as yet.
But can I just interject? Like, why not, like, pharmaceutical companies itself, like your company or other leading companies, could go to the university? We'll give them at least particular amount of grant and say, well, these are the small problems, solve this one, or just reproduce what's been done in, for example, in UCL or Imperial. Do it here, and we are supporting you. And in this way, the private sector could also enhance the capacity of the universities.
In order for us to come forward and give a problem to a university, universities will have to prove that they are actually doing that kind of research work. So let's say we have many different problems at this moment. Let's say we want to produce insulin at a cost which is which should be competitive throughout the world. But we don't see any university which is working with this particular field. We want to manufacture a particular API at a cost which is globally cost competitive. But we don't find an university which is actually doing research work on a simple organic synthetic compound in a particular reaction manner, so that they would be able to say us that, okay, we are able to produce these kind of reactions, and if this is the field that you want us to produce, we can give you some result. So these are the things that the universities will have to come. We go to different forums now and tell them that please prepare yourself in these particular areas. So no such thing is still existing in Bangladesh. So that is why we could not do anything like that.
Okay, thank you. I think in this regard,
Could I comment on that?
Yes, please. Yes.
As I mentioned, I think what's important is you have enough people in Bangladesh in the university settings that know how to deal with these sorts of technologies. And I would suggest that the way you can drive that is by including a particular group in Bangladesh, say in Dhaka University or wherever, to be included in what you're doing with one of the universities in the UK, so that they can learn the technologies and the details, they can exchange people, they can send people here, or you can send people from here to there, so that you actually build in some of the best places you can decide on in Bangladesh into your university setup, so that they get to be trained and understand the sort of technology that's needed.
This is actually happening. Your presence encourages the universities to learn things and recognize the other people who are doing things which is scientifically very advanced. So this mutual recognition and respect for different groups is just happening now in Bangladesh. It was all in isolation, different islands before, but we have to bring in those islands together. We have to, now the universities tend to recognize that the cumulative capabilities of the industry is so much that we need to collaborate with them, and then we can actually help each other. So this is coming.
Absolutely.
And when you say that government is going to sit completely in a different island, I would not encourage anything, then it is becoming difficult for us, because we see lot of opportunities working with only, let's say we have been working for last 8 years. Now we forged research collaboration with ICG, Trieste in Italy, with this Nobel laureate Weizmann's lab in Penn State University, and then with Robin Shatoff's lab in Imperial, then Christina's lab in University College of London, and then Nick's lab in Leeds University, and also we are working with Oxford University. So these are the things we have forged, and we are member of at least 3 or 4 different hubs where the UK government, Canadian government, they are giving money to us. So this is what we are already doing it. And what is their advantage? Their advantage is probably they are able to get GMP material at fraction of a cost. Of a cost. If they wanted to do it in Europe, in America, they have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. We do it with no money, actually, because we get our scientists trained there. In return, we make GMP grade clinical materials for them in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So my point was, for involving and getting the universities here to do the sorts of things you would like them to do, you should now be including them in these collaborations that you have.
Yeah.
And actually using them, if you will, to do some of the work that those people can tell them to do, so that you develop a baseline of knowledge of how to do these things in the Bangladeshi universities.
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to be very important. You know, it used to be argued that why bother to develop something new if it's all happening in the United States, which it doesn't have. But nevertheless, you can say, well, if you don't have people in your own country who can understand what's happening in other places, then you'll never get really into the swing of things.
You need the critical mass to do it. You need lots of graduates who understands that. But what we do in our case, we take university graduates and then train them for 1, 2, 3 years before they can actually contribute. Right. What Sir Walter was saying, that if we start earlier on collaborating with the universities, then we get people who are already prepared and ready to work for us. So this is very important.
That's very critical.
But that will need support from the government, your government here.
Yes, that's what, So it looks like the industry, like the things that you are doing with the foreign universities and their labs, if even a fraction of that is connected with our local universities, and you become a bridge between our local universities and the foreign universities, exchange of knowledge, and that will be a phenomenal change, probably in next 3 to 5 years.
I want to add, and I would also like to inform Sir Walter on this particular issue. When COVID came in and the mRNA technology was not mature enough to deliver, but eventually that delivered very, very critical vaccine for the whole world, and a new era has started. WHO wanted this technology to be shared by many low and middle income countries. But the people who had this knowledge and technology, they did not want to share this critical information with low and middle income countries. WHO took a bold step, and they wanted to make this technology available to the people because they identified tremendous amount of potential in this particular technology. So WHO has started took an initiative to develop mRNA technology for the low and middle income countries. And they have asked for hope from the whole world who is interested to this. So many companies from all these 170 countries expressed their interest. Eventually, WHO selected only 14 companies who they think has the merit, capability to do this. And we are very happy to let you know that Incepta was selected as a competent partner into this. Among all these companies, only 14 companies were selected for this particular technology. Thank God, due to their initiative, during the last 3 or 4 years' time, our scientists has learned how to do the mRNA technology, and including the lipid nanoparticles. So this is a very critical knowledge that has been transferred to these 14 different companies. Now we are going to have a meeting in Brussels end of next month, in the middle of from 19th in Brussels, so 19th of October, that we are now meeting together, trying to find out what are the new emerging areas for the use of this very critical technology. And like Sir Walter was saying, that this is a very useful technology for newer development of therapies for cancers and even personal medicines. So this is where we are part of it, and we are very happy to let our viewers know that Incepta and Bangladesh is on the very forefront of this particular technology, and we are going to set up a complete GMP manufacturing facility for mRNA technology.
Okay.
And we'll be
So-
able to make clinical lots and all other different things that until now it was impossible to address many different things.
So what I think
Well,
Mr.
just-
Muktadir,
The trouble is that WHO doesn't really have the money to give enough support for that. And you ought to be able to get the money from BioNTech and Moderna, which they've just set up a huge
Yeah, but
vaccine
they
facility
don't want to
in the
give.
UK.
They don't
I
want
know. But then you've got to, it's not actually, I have to be careful what I say, I'm not directly involved. The company I work with is a relatively small company that also has facilities in China, and they were able to set up LNP facilities with mRNA that are good enough for doing phase 1 clinical trials in quite a short period of time. Now, that's not the same as enlarging it, but you only need the enlargement in a huge scale when you've got to a stage where you've got those sorts of technologies that are being used on a large scale. So you can do quite a lot to start with without it being on a huge scale.
Just to let you know, there is a consortium of people who are actually supporting us, and the Canadian government came forward. They gave us money to set up the labs, and we are meeting in Brussels in 3 weeks' time. The donors are all coming, and they are giving money. We have raised something like $175 million for the whole whole setup, and it is being spearheaded by a South African company, Afrigen, you probably know. So they are doing it, and then they are transferring the technology. So many countries are supporting us, and Bangladesh is a beneficiary of this. But the other investment that is required, we are doing it from our own pocket, because we do not want to miss this opportunity of acquiring this cutting-edge technology so that it would benefit not only Bangladesh but the whole world.
But yeah, I think in this regard, we can again emphasize that if we connect the university, we include some of the, at least few labs, few university departments with this initiative, then the knowledge will also be transferred to the university. The students can contribute, the professors can be connected. And this is the way the academia will also be sensitized and prepared, so that the supportive staff are ready to support like an initiative which is this big. We are coming to kind of the closing part of this program. We learned quite a lot from both of you. But Sir Walter Bodmer, from your trip this time, this is your third visit, and you have met several industry leaders this time, like including Mr. Muktadir, but you have met also other leaders in last few days. So how do you see this kind of the future journey of Bangladesh regarding, especially in cancer research or biological research in general, and also this industrial transition?
I think what it may be able to do more quickly and easily than find novel things is actually to support at a manageable cost the new developments that are being made. And again, if you collaborate in the right way, then maybe some of the patent problems and other things are simplified to some extent. So I see there the opportunity for an industry that can actually provide valuable new treatments, and not only in cancer, I mean, obviously in a lot of other areas. I mean, all the attempts to deliver RNAs or DNAs into RNAs for treatment will be done through an LNP type process. So it doesn't apply only to cancer. So I think that's where the future lies. But of course, as you develop that, you may also be part of the innovation. But to answer one question there, I mean, we get, in my little laboratory, we're working with these things, we get the LNPs with the mRNAs delivered to us by the company we work with. So if you want to investigate how the things are working better, then the way that you can do that is by providing the LNPs you can make, which is not difficult and not very expensive, for people who are trying to understand better how they can be used.
Thank you, Sir Walter. Mr. Muktadir, we're also at the end of the program, but we'd like to learn your vision as you're an industry leader here. We're also president of Oshud Shilpo Shomiti Bangladesh. So how do you see the whole industry is coming to a standard where they can also be like competitive at the world stage and on behalf of cancer drug production or new therapy development in Bangladesh?
Like Professor Walter was saying, that we don't have to be always part of the innovation of a new therapy.
Yeah.
But the key lies in delivering the already existing innovative drugs in a competitive manner so that people can use it. So exactly that is what we are doing now. We are trying to produce those products which are already introduced in such a manner so that we can reduce the cost, make it affordable to our own people, and we make it high quality products so that this can be used. There are several challenges here. One is the regulatory ecosystem and also the approval systems. So these are newer generation of things. So the knowledge of our regulators, precise knowledge of our regulators is extremely important so that they give approval to the right product. This is very important. And they do not unnecessarily delay because of their lack of understanding. So that is very, very critical, important information. The other thing which we miss most of the time, where academia can also support and come forward, that the academia must learn how to analyze and recognize and how to give certification to a particular product, what it is. So the ability to analyze and qualify and quantify a particular product is extremely important in this early journey of industrialization. So we must have a center of excellence where we can give a particular sample and we would be 100% sure that what they are saying is correct. So it is their competence, knowledge, skill, everything is extremely important that they are able to analyze both quantitatively and qualitatively. So these are the capabilities that we need to develop. The other area is clinical research, whereby you are going to able to judge a particular product without unnecessary delay or without any ignorance so that you approve something which is not right. So these are the ecosystem that we need, and in every single stage the academia has a tremendous role to play of setting the standard, and we must set the standard which is high and accurate. We cannot falter, we cannot make mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Muktadir. Thank you so much, Sir Walter. Your parting words from this discussion and overall about the prospect of Bangladesh that you have seen so far.
Well, I'm very optimistic from what I've heard that there is a real future for a sort of aggressive development of the pharmaceutical companies here. And I think that's very important. But then in picking up on what's just been said about the quality testing, you've then got to have the people in the universities who know enough. So there is a real necessity to bring in some groups in the universities. You might have to be very selective to start with, but it can spread. That you trust will work with you on what you're doing now, that when you give them a novel drug, they can say they can work with it. But they're not the ones that have to produce the drug.
Thank you so much, Sir Walter Bodmer, Mr. Muktadir. অনেক ধন্যবাদ আপনাদের দুজনকে. And we hope Sir Walter will visit again, and we'd love to listen to you again when next time you visit us. Mr. Muktadir, thank you so much.